My name's Abby, and my life turned upside down when I was just 5 years old. That's when my little sister, Lily, came into the world, and from that moment, I might as well have been a ghost in my own home. Growing up in Savannah, Georgia, where the air smells like magnolias and everybody knows everybody, you'd think family would be everything. But for me, family meant fading into the background while Lily danced in the spotlight. I can still picture it. Our little brick house on a quiet street, the kind where neighbors wave from their porches. I was the kid who loved books, always tucked away with a novel or scribbling stories in a notebook, dreaming of being a writer someday. But the second Lily was born, with her big blue eyes and a laugh that could charm anyone, my parents' world shifted. By the time she was 3, she was twirling around in a sparkly leotard, her tiny feet already mastering dance moves that made everyone clap like she was a prodigy. Mom, who'd been a beauty queen back in her day, saw Lily as her chance to shine again. Dad, who spent his days keeping his hardware store afloat, would nod along, his eyes lighting up whenever Lily performed. Me? I was the one setting out plates of pecan pie at family cookouts, watching relatives fawn over Lily while I refill their sweet tea. Abby, help your sister practice her routine, Mom would say, her eyes glued to Lily as she spun across the living room. And don't forget to sweep the kitchen first. I was 7, maybe 8, when I learned how to scrub pots so Mom could drive Lily to dance lessons. Lily's talent wasn't just a hobby, it was the family's obsession. They were convinced she'd be the next big thing, maybe grace a stage in New York one day. I didn't mind helping at first. I loved Lily, even if her giggles sometimes felt like they were stealing the air from the room. But the older I got, the more I realized, no matter how hard I tried, I'd never be the star of this show. One spring morning when I was 14, I begged to go to my friend Mary's birthday party. Mary was my rock, the one person who got me. Her parents owned Paloma's Pastries, a cozy bakery downtown where I'd escape to do homework, surrounded by the smell of fresh empanadas. "Can I go, please?" I asked, clutching the invitation. Mom barely looked up from her phone, where she was scheduling Lily's next recital. "Lily's got a competition at the community center," she said, waving me off. "We need you to help with her costume changes." I opened my mouth to argue, but Dad's voice cut through like a slammed door. "Don't be selfish, Abby. Your sister's got real talent." He didn't say the rest, but I heard it loud and clear. "Unlike you." That stung deeper than I can explain. I'd always been the good kid, straight A's, never in trouble, always doing what I was told. But it was never enough. Lily could do no wrong, even when she did. Like the time she was 12 and I was 16. She and her friends snuck off to the mall, something I'd never been allowed to do at her age. They spent hours eating ice cream sundaes, daring each other to pile on more whipped cream. The next day, Lily woke up with a sore throat that turned into strep. It got bad, real bad. The doctor said her vocal cords were damaged from the infection, and her dance career took a hit because she couldn't keep up with the rehearsals. I was in the kitchen, working on algebra homework, when Mom and Dad got back from the hospital. "This is your fault," Mom snapped, her face red. "You're her older sister. You should have been watching her." "I was doing the laundry and cleaning the bathroom like you told me," I said, my voice shaking. I hated how small I sounded. No excuses. Dad slammed his hand on the table, making the salt shaker jump. "You're grounded for a month. No phone, no nothing. Maybe this'll teach you responsibility." I didn't cry until I was alone in my room, staring at the ceiling. That night, I made a promise to myself. One day, I'd build a life where I wasn't just the help, where I wasn't invisible. I just had to survive a few more years in a house where I felt like a servant, always one step behind Lily's spotlight. The next few years were a blur of chores, school, and keeping my head down. By the time I was 18, I'd applied to Georgia State University, dreaming of studying literature and becoming an editor. I'd spend hours researching scholarships, budgeting every penny I'd saved from summer jobs at the grocery store. When my acceptance letter came, I left it on the kitchen table during dinner, right next to Mom's cornbread. I'd planned it carefully, hoping they'd finally see me. "It's the most affordable option," I said, my voice steady despite the knot in my stomach. "I got a partial scholarship. I just need help with the rest. I've got a budget worked out, and I'll pay back every cent after I graduate." Dad didn't even look up from his plate. We don't have the money, Abby. You know that. Lily smirked from across the table, picking at her green beans. Maybe if you'd focused on something useful instead of reading all the time, you'd have a real plan. I ignored her, my eyes on Mom. I can take out a loan. I'll handle it. This is my chance. Mom sighed, that long, tired sound I knew too well. Honey, college isn't for everyone. Why don't you apply at the new coffee shop downtown? They're hiring. My heart sank. But I got a scholarship, I said, my voice cracking. I've worked so hard. Enough. Dad's fork hit the plate with a clatter. No loans. Some people are meant for college, and some aren't. Accept it. I stared at my untouched dinner, fighting tears. Lily's smirk burned into me, but I refused to let her see me break. That night, I called Mary, sobbing into the phone. They won't help. All these years of doing everything right, and they don't care. Mary was quiet for a moment, then said, "Come to the bakery tomorrow. My parents want to talk." The next evening, I sat in the back office of Paloma's Pastries, the smell of cinnamon lingering in the air. Mary's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Alvarez, had known me since I was 12, when I'd started hanging out at their bakery to escape home. Mrs. Alvarez's kind eyes met mine. "You're like family, Abby. We've seen how hard you work." Mr. Alvarez nodded. "We'll pay your tuition. You work here part-time after classes. Good wages, flexible hours. Pay us back slowly, no interest. This is for your future." I started to protest, but Mrs. Alvarez held up a hand. "You're worth it, Mija." A few weeks later, I moved into a dorm at Georgia State, my parents barely noticing as I packed my bags. They were too busy planning Lily's next big thing, modeling, now that dance wasn't an option. I threw myself into my new life. Classes during the day, waitressing at the bakery at night. I learned to balance trays of pastelitos and manage inventory, all while keeping my grades up. For the first time, I felt like I was building something for myself, not just cleaning up after someone else. College was my escape, but it wasn't easy. I'd wake up early for classes, rush to the library to study, then head to Paloma's Pastries for the evening shift. The Alvarezes treated me like one of their own, slipping me extra empanadas when I looked tired and cheering when I aced my exams. By my sophomore year, I'd paid back half of what I owed them, and I was promoted to shift supervisor at the bakery. I loved the work, organizing orders, streamlining the inventory system, even suggesting new pastries that became customer favorites. But every time I called home, it was the same. Mom and Dad were all about Lily. One Sunday, I was studying in the library when Mom called. My heart raced. Maybe she'd finally ask about me. "Hey, sweetie," she said, her voice distracted over the sound of Lily practicing something in the background, maybe a modeling pose for her latest photo shoot. "Just checking in. What's up?" "I'm in college," I said, waiting for her to ask how I was managing. "Just studying." "Oh, that's nice," she said vaguely. "Lily's been booking modeling gigs left and right. We're so proud. She's really bounced back since the dance injury." She didn't ask about my classes, my job, or how I was paying for school. The call ended fast, and I sat there, staring at my notes, feeling like I was shouting into a void. That's how it went for years, me building my life, them building Lily's. I only went home for big holidays, and every visit was the same. Relatives crowded around the dining table, gushing over Lily's latest headshots while I helped Mom in the kitchen, listening to the laughter from the other room. Thanksgiving during my junior year hit me hard. I was setting out the pecan pie I'd helped bake when my aunt started asking about Lily's college plans. Mom beamed. "We've been saving for years. Her education fund is ready. She can go anywhere she wants." I froze, the pie dish burning my hands through the oven mitts. 3 years ago, they'd told me they couldn't afford to help me. Now I knew the truth. They'd had money all along, just not for me. I slipped away to my old bedroom, wrapped in my childhood quilt, and called Mary. "They had the money," I whispered, tears streaming. "They just didn't think I was worth it." "Prove them wrong," Mary said fiercely. "You already are." She was right. I threw myself into my studies and work with a new fire. By the time I graduated, I'd paid back every cent to the Alvarezes and learned how to run a business. Mr. Alvarez called me into his office one day, sliding a business card across the desk. My friend at Garcia and Stone Publishing in Atlanta needs someone sharp. I told him how you revamped our inventory system, cut costs by 30%. He wants to meet you. A week after graduation, I walked into my new office at Garcia and Stone, my name, Abigail Garcia, on a shiny nameplate, Junior Editor. Within 6 months, I was leading a team, editing manuscripts that hit bestseller lists. I bought a navy blazer with my own money, the kind that made me feel unstoppable. For the first time, I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. Christmas a few years later felt off from the moment I pulled into my parents' driveway. The house, usually decked out with twinkling lights and a giant wreath, was dark except for a single glow in the living room. No cars lined the street, no festive music spilled out. Mom answered the door in a faded sweater, not her usual holiday sparkle. "Lily's not coming," she said quietly. I stepped inside, the air missing the familiar smell of her cornbread dressing. "Where is she?" I asked. "She's with friends," Mom said, wringing her hands. Their family rented a cabin in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Very exclusive. The dining table, usually groaning with food, held a sad store-bought ham and instant mashed potatoes. Dad sat in his armchair, looking older than I remembered. "We've had setbacks," Mom admitted, her voice soft. "An investment your dad made went south. We had to take loans. A big Christmas wasn't in the cards." I looked at them, picking at their meager meal. These were the people who'd once loomed so large, controlling my every move. Now they looked small, defeated. Something stirred in me, maybe pity, maybe habit. "Give me a minute," I said, pulling out my phone. I ordered a feast through a delivery app. Roasted turkey, sweet potato casserole, collard greens, and peach cobbler. When it arrived, the house filled with rich smells, and we ate in silence. I caught Mom eyeing my new watch, a sleek silver one I'd bought after a big promotion, and my silk blouse, pricier than their monthly bills. "We've been thinking," Mom said carefully, glancing at Dad. "Since you're doing so well, maybe you could help us out. Just temporarily." I studied them, part of me wanting to throw their words back. Some people are meant for college and some aren't. But their tired faces stopped me. "I can set up a card on my account," I said slowly. $2,000 a month. No more. Their eyes lit up, nodding eagerly. It was pocket change to me now, but to them, it was everything. I set up the card, and for a while, things seemed stable. The charges were reasonable: groceries, utilities, the basics. Mom started calling monthly to discuss expenses, and those talks turned into real conversations. Or so I thought. Even Lily and I started talking again, though her old competitive streak never faded. When I mentioned a promotion to senior editor, her smile tightened. "That's nice," she'd say, her voice clipped. "I'm up for a big campaign at a boutique agency. Very exclusive." Then it all came crashing down. One evening, scrolling through Instagram, I saw Lily's post, a beach, turquoise waves, her hand flashing a diamond ring. Paradise with my love. Engaged. So grateful to Mom and Dad for this dream trip. Best parents ever. My parents stood beside her, smiling with her fiancé, Matthew, and his polished Atlanta parents. My finger froze. When had this happened? Why hadn't they told me? The next post hit like a knife. "Thank you, Mom and Dad, for treating both families to this magical engagement trip." My heart pounded as I opened my banking app. There it was, $18,000 for first-class flights to the Florida Keys, $25,000 for oceanfront suites at a resort, $4,000 for a welcome dinner, spa treatments, a yacht charter, a private beach dinner, over $60,000 total. They'd used my money to fund a celebration I wasn't invited to. My hands shook as I dialed Mom's number. She answered, her voice light over the sound of waves and laughter. "Hey, honey," she said, like nothing was wrong. "Where are you?" I asked, my tone calm, the one I used in tense meetings. "Oh, we just needed a break," she said, hesitating. "Things have been hard. A break at a 5-star resort with Lily, Matthew, and his family? That kind of break costs $60,000, Mom." Silence. Muffled voices, like she'd covered the phone. Then Lily's voice came on, sharp and venomous. Listen, Miss Bigshot Editor, you're not needed here. You're just a cash machine. Nobody wants your boring success story ruining my engagement. Her words cut deep, but I kept my cool. That cash machine paid $60,000 for your party, Lily. My money, my card. She laughed, cold and cruel. That's all you're good for, Abby. Keep working your fancy job. We'll keep spending. It's the only thing you're useful for. The line went dead. I called back, Mom, Dad, Lily, all straight to voicemail. Then the notifications hit. They'd blocked me on every platform. Mom's final text read, "We're tired of your jealousy. Leave us alone. You've ruined enough for Lily." Something cold settled in my chest as I stared at Mom's text. My hands were steady now, my mind clear. I opened my banking app, each click feeling like a step toward freedom. Hotel reservations for 3 oceanfront suites? Cancelled. Spa treatments and yacht charters? Cancelled. 7 first-class return flights? Cancelled. Mom's card? Deactivated for good. I leaned back, imagining their faces when the hotel staff told them their rooms weren't paid for, when their cards were declined at dinner. For the first time, I wasn't the one cleaning up their mess. Hours later, my phone exploded. Texts, calls, voicemails, Mom, Dad, Lily, even numbers from Florida I didn't recognize, probably Matthew's family. Mom, Abby, please, this is an emergency. Dad, fix this now, young lady. Lily, you're ruining my engagement, you petty jerk. An unknown number, probably Matthew's mom. Reinstate those reservations. You're embarrassing everyone. I didn't respond. Their messages grew desperate. Mom, sweetie, we can talk. Dad, we'll pay you back. Lily, Matthew's parents might call off the wedding. I left them unread, blocking each number methodically. But first, I screenshotted everything. The charges, their texts, Lily's venomous words. That night, Lily posted on Instagram, "My sister tried to ruin my engagement out of spite. Canceling our family's vacation? Who does that? Toxic family." The comments piled up. "That's awful. She's just jealous. Poor you." I'd had enough. My fingers flew as I typed my response. Here's the truth. My parents used my credit card, meant for necessities, to fund a $60,000 Florida vacation for Lily's engagement. They didn't ask me. They didn't invite me. When I confronted them, Lily called me a cash machine and said I wasn't family. My mom told me to leave them alone. So yes, I canceled the trip I never agreed to. Here are the screenshots. Here are the statements. Judge for yourselves. I attached every piece of proof and hit post. The tide turned fast. Comments flooded in. Lily, how could you? Using your sister's money and excluding her? That's cold. Abby, you're a badass for standing up. Through mutual friends, I pieced together the chaos. My parents had to borrow money for economy flights home, humiliated in front of Matthew's family. Lily threw a tantrum in the resort lobby. Someone filmed it, and the video went viral on TikTok. Matthew's parents, mortified by the lies, confronted my mom poolside. "You said everything was paid for," Mrs. Caldwell shouted. "This is unacceptable." Lily, true to form, made it worse. "If you can't afford a few nights, maybe your son isn't good enough for me," she snapped. Matthew stood frozen, then quietly pulled the ring off her finger. "You're right," he said. "Someone isn't good enough." He walked away with his parents, and just like that, the engagement was over. A week later, my parents showed up at my Atlanta apartment, banging on the door. "Abby, please." Mom's voice shook. "We know we messed up. Just talk to us." Dad chimed in. "Give us a chance to explain." I sat on my couch, the TV muted, their voices echoing through the door. For 20 minutes, they pleaded, but I didn't move. They'd had years to see me, to choose me. They didn't get to now just because their world was crumbling. Later, I learned they'd tried to sweet-talk my building manager, claiming it was an emergency. He called me, and I told him to keep them out. Mary came over that night with takeout from Paloma's Pastries, and we sat on my balcony, the Atlanta skyline twinkling below. "Your post blew up," she said, grinning. "It's in family trauma groups online. People are calling you a hero for setting boundaries." I laughed. watching a plane fade into the night. You know what's weird? For the first time, I don't care if they're sorry. I don't need their approval. I'm done. Mary squeezed my hand. You've always been enough, Abby. They just couldn't see it. I thought about all the years I'd spent trying to earn their love. Cooking, cleaning, begging for scraps of attention. I'd thought money would make them see me, but it only made me their ATM. Now, standing in my own light, I realized my worth wasn't tied to their validation. It was in every late night at the bakery, every manuscript I'd edited, every step I'd taken on my own. Sometimes the hardest part of growing up isn't learning to stand tall. It's knowing when to walk away. I'd spent my life in Lily's shadow, but now I was ready to shine. To everyone who's followed this journey, thank you. You've walked with me through heartbreak, betrayal, and the fight to find my own voice. If this story hit home, hit that subscribe button and join us. Every chapter we share is about grit, heart, and carving your own path. Keep writing your own story, and I'll meet you at the next page.